Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Ling Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. President Joe Biden is visiting the Golden State to speak on the nation's infrastructure. He's also expected to attend a fundraiser with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Los Angeles City Council president has officially resigned on Wednesday. The decision came after the public criticized her for making derogatory remarks in a leaked audio clip. The Supreme Court heard arguments on the California animal welfare law. The case could determine states' power in regulating livestock. President Joe Biden arrived in Los Angeles on Wednesday to begin a multi-day stay in the Golden State. The U.S. president is expected to speak on infrastructure investments and affordability. According to his press office, he's expected to speak at an event on Thursday to discuss, quote, historic investments in our nation's infrastructure. According to Deadline, the president will be in Brentwood the same evening for a fundraiser, along with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Tickets for the event reportedly range from $5,000 per person or $10,000 per couple to even $50,000 per host couple. According to the White House, after finishing up in LA, Biden is expected to head down to Orange County, where he would talk about, quote, lowering costs for American families. Following his visit to California, Biden is expected to visit Oregon on Friday and Saturday, according to the Register-Guard newspaper. A Los Angeles City Councilwoman is facing heavy backlash after racially charged remarks she made in a recorded conversation last year. She resigned her position as council president on Monday and took a leave of absence. But many Angelinos, along with the President Joe Biden, are saying that's not good enough.
Los Angeles City Councilwoman Nuri Martinez, along with 3 other officials, Councilman Kevin DeLeon and Jill Cedillo, and Los Angeles County Federation of Labor President Ron Herrera, are facing criticism after a recorded audio was leaked of the 4 making racial comments. The recorded conversation had originally appeared on Reddit over the weekend and has since been taken down.
And then there's this white guy with this little black kid who's misbehaved. The kid is bouncing off the effing walls on the floor, practically tipping it over. There's nothing you can do to control him. Parece changuito.
Martinez can be heard making many disparaging comments aimed at Councilman Mike Bonin's 2-year-old adopted black son and towards other ethnic groups. Other members added in their own jokes and commentary. The group was discussing the politically sensitive process of redrawing council district boundaries at the time.
Public officials are supposed to call us to our highest selves, and these people stabbed us and shot us and cut the spirit of Los Angeles. It gave a beatdown to the heart and the soul of this city.
Herrera resigned on Monday following the leak of the audio, but the other councilors involved in the conversation have stepped down.
Asking for forgiveness is a good first step, but, well, it's a second step, because first you must resign and then ask for forgiveness.
Martinez said in a statement, "This has to be one of the most difficult times of my life, and I recognize this is entirely of my own making. At this moment, I need to take a leave of absence." But activists and protesters blasted Martinez's announcement and gathered outside the city hall on Tuesday morning, insisting that she resign immediately. Additionally, a wave of officials and political candidates, including President Joe Biden, also condemned the remarks and called for all the individuals involved to resign from their posts. The meeting reportedly occurred at the Federation of Labor office, and the Federation is currently investigating the source of what is said to be, quote, illegal recording. At this time, it is unclear who taped the conversation and released it.
This afternoon, Nuri Martinez said she has resigned from the Los Angeles City Council. Attorney General Rob Bonta has also announced that the Department of Justice will investigate the Los Angeles City Council redistricting process. The Supreme Court heard arguments yesterday about a California animal welfare law. The case could undermine the power of states to regulate a range of issues within their own borders. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
In 2018, voters in California decided to limit certain meat sales. They passed a proposition that sets a minimum space requirement for confined animals and prohibits sales of pork, veal, and eggs if the standard isn't met. Now, the National Pork Producers Council and the American Farm Bureau Federation are seeking to invalidate the measure.
It is a common sense measure that allows animals basic abilities to open their wings, mother pigs to stand up and turn around in their life. I mean, these are not extreme ideas.
The pork industry has defended the size of the cages as humane and necessary for animal safety. Proponents of the measure say California has the right to set standards for products sold to its consumers, regardless of where they are produced. But industry groups have argued that it violates the U.S. Constitution's Commerce Clause.
We will not have 50 states anymore. We'll have four huge states that control all economic activity across the country. And that's not the way the country was set up to operate.
Congress has the power to regulate interstate commerce, but now California requires out-of-state producers to comply or face a statewide sales ban. A legal doctrine called the Dormant Commerce Clause bars states from passing laws discriminating against commerce in other states. In a legal filing, pork producers argue that California may be violating that doctrine. They say it would increase costs for pig farmers. Most pig farmers are located outside of California. The state produces just 0.1% of the nation's pork. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Lyft said on Tuesday it was testing an algorithm that will allow drivers to see destination and fare details before accepting a request. It's part of a move to bring in more drivers.
Lyft's new driver-favored algorithm follows a similar move by bigger rival Uber. The companies are trying to fix driver shortages to meet surging demand following the pandemic. Lyft drivers will have access to details such as drop-off locations, estimated distance and time, and fare details before accepting a ride. Drivers have been struggling with higher fuel and maintenance costs. They've long demanded access to such details. Lyft conducted a survey of over 1,000 drivers. The results showed more than 70% preferred the upfront pay model to previous pay models. Meanwhile, Uber's upfront pay system has drawn criticism from drivers. Some say Uber is taking a bigger percentage of their earnings. The incentives come after the U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear an appeal by the California Trucking Association. Protesters challenged Assembly Bill 5, or the gig worker law that passed in 2019. But when the court denied the case on June 30th this year, protests sprung up at the Port of Los Angeles and Oakland. AB 5 was especially aimed at Uber and Lyft, gig driver companies. The law reclassified most independent contractors as full-time employees.
Another California high school student has died as a result from an overdose of fentanyl. This comes as fentanyl overdoses rise across the state.
17-year-old Cade Kitchen, a high school student and baseball player from El Camino Real High School in Los Angeles' Woodland Hills, died as a result of a fentanyl overdose. A letter sent by the school last week said, "On behalf of the El Camino Real community, our thoughts and prayers are with the family during this difficult time." Kitchen's death comes shortly after a 15-year-old female student from Bernstein High School was found dead in a bathroom on campus after overdosing on fentanyl. According to the California Department of Public Health, quote, "Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that is up to 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine." In the state of California, fentanyl-related deaths have been increasing at a, quote, "unpredictable pace." In order to address the increase in fentanyl-related overdoses, officials from the Los Angeles Unified School District have voted to provide fentanyl recovery drugs on every campus. It is expected to go into effect this week. A GoFundMe has been set up for Kitchen to help the family with funeral expenses.
A California physician pleaded guilty last week for illegally prescribing medication to patients without any legitimate medical purpose. He's facing up to 20 years in a federal prison.
61-year-old Dr. Zung An Pham of Tustin and owner of the Irvine Village Urgent Care entered a guilty plea to a federal charge of conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. In 2018, when Pham was initially charged, prosecutors said that 5 people who received prescriptions from him died of overdoses. He was accused of prescribing over 120,000 opioid pills and almost 30,000 pills of amphetamine salts to nearly 20 people over a 6-year span in exchange for cash and insurance payments. Jennifer Nguyen, a pharmacist at Bristol Pharmacy and co-defendant, is also expected to plead guilty to the conspiracy charge later this week. According to papers filed in a Los Angeles federal court, Nguyen conspired with Pham to distribute narcotics such as oxycodone, hydrocodone, and amphetamine salts. Prosecutors wrote, quote, as the defendant knew many pharmacies would not fill his prescriptions, he would direct his patients to co-defendant Nguyen and Bristol Pharmacy to fill the prescriptions. Pham's sentencing is set for January 6, 2023, and he is facing up to 20 years in a federal prison.
We are going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. Office occupancy in San Francisco is at the lowest in the nation. High rent costs and changes in employee values are among the top reasons. A Southern California church celebrated local and national law enforcement agencies. The event recognized the contribution of law enforcement personnel. And the famous and nearly 100-year-old Hollywood sign recently received a little touch-up. After gallons of fresh white paint, the sign is looking young again. That and more on California Today. San Francisco's total downtown office occupancy rate is the lowest in the nation. The reasons include a high percentage of tech companies, high rent costs, and changing office worker values.
According to a new report by the security firm Castle, San Francisco's total downtown office occupancy sat at 39% in late September. For the same time period, the average rate nationwide is between 45% and 50%. Prior to COVID-19, San Francisco's office occupancy percentage was 100%, with many tech firms fighting for office space. But the rate fell to under 10% following the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020. It bounced back to 30% at the end of 2021, but dropped again to 10% from a second wave of concern over the virus. From March to May this year, Mayor London Breed worked to bring businesses back to downtown San Francisco and gave funds to surviving small businesses. Yahoo Finance previously reported that Salesforce CEO, housed in the iconic San Francisco Tower, said that work from office mandates will never work. Additionally, the high percentage of tech companies in San Francisco, mixed with high rent costs and changing office worker values, continues to spell lower occupancy for the city by the Bay. But Castle expects occupancy to reach above 40% in San Francisco by the end of the year.
3 California bounty hunters are being accused of suspicion of kidnapping, burglary, false imprisonment, and other fines. The California Department of Insurance says the defendants were working illegally.
2 bounty hunters, 43-year-old Daniel Jonathan Hawks and 36-year-old Annette Bianca Garcia, were arrested last week for an incident in National City on June 10th. The third defendant, 48-year-old Jesse Wagner, is still at large. The defendants are being accused of burglarizing a house and then unlawfully detaining the suspect's girlfriend and her father. According to the California Department of Insurance, the defendants were working illegally as bail fugitive recovery persons for a San Marcos company called Fugitive Warrants. Hawks and Garcia both pleaded not guilty in a Chula Vista courtroom. Hawks is also being charged with felony counts of kidnapping and false imprisonment. If convicted, Hawks faces nearly 20 years in a state prison and Garcia 6. Wagner is facing many of the same charges. The criminal complaint also indicates that Wagner was convicted in San Bernardino County of robbery in 2006. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
A church in Los Angeles County came together to celebrate law enforcement. NTD's Jackie Rios went to hear what participants had to say.
The third annual Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, or LEAD, is being held at the Lighthouse Baptist Church and is designed to recognize the incredible contributions from our local, regional, and state law enforcement agencies. Organized by Pastor Brian Dunlop in the Lighthouse Baptist Church, the event has several vendors outside along with some law enforcement booths. One of the law enforcement speakers was thankful for the support of the community.
Oh, it means the world to us, when the members of the community reach out and show their support.
The event kicked off with a church choir. Followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Dunlop recognized the officers and their families, followed by a group photo. There were special guest speakers from Chief of the Laverne's Police Department, Colleen Flores, Laverne Mayor Tim Hepburn, Los Angeles Deputy District Attorney Jonathan Hatami, San Bernardino County District Attorney Jason Anderson, and several district candidates.
I think it gives a clue as to the real character of this nation. It's wonderful to see law enforcement celebrated and supported.
Not only were the officers given recognition, but also the wives. Officers took home treats from Knox Barbecue, In-N-Out, and for dessert, Handel's Ice Cream.
We got spoiled. So basically the church and a lot of the local sponsors went out of their way to basically show their appreciation for law enforcement, because again, we wouldn't be a country without law and order.
It's awesome that the church is taking it that step further and expanding as much as they can to really show everybody else in the community, hey, no, we need to support our law enforcement, and that really makes it worthwhile showing up to work every day knowing that I got all the amazing folks here that got our back and will support us.
And to give police a little bit of sanctuary, the church has a special break room reserved for police officers to have a safe place to go while they're on duty. Jackie Rios, NTD News, Laverne, California.
After a certain age, many people may go for a little touching up. One Hollywood resident is almost 100 years old, and to turn the odometer back just a bit, she's getting some work done. No surgery, nothing invasive, just several hundred gallons of white paint. NTD's Bill Thomas has more from the Tinseltown.
Hollywood, California has a variety of landmarks. The Hollywood Walk of Fame, the Capitol Records Building, the Pantages Theater. But Hollywood wouldn't be Hollywood without its most legendary ambassador, the Hollywood sign. And that sign, which sits high atop Mount Lee, is almost ready for its close-up.
In Hollywood circles, fame can be short-lived. A millionaire movie star today, forgotten tomorrow. But one Hollywood star's bright light never seems to dim, and as she prepares to hit the century mark, she could still pass for 29. Jeff Zaranum, chairman of the Hollywood Sign Trust, a nonprofit organization, tells us all about Hollywood's forever star and the makeover she's getting.
So today we're painting the Hollywood sign for the first time in 10 years. The last time we painted a sign was in 2012, and we're painting the sign in preparation for the centennial of the Hollywood sign. It'll be 100 years old in 2023.
The elements can really take their toll on the legendary 9 letters, which stand about 45 feet high. That's why she gets touched up from time to time.
And we have to paint it every 10 years because of the rain, the sun that's coming down, the UV rays, the wind. That'll have a factor on the paint, and that's why we're painting it again.
This really is a massive project, and Zaranum says there was a great deal of prep work that had to be done before the actual painting even began.
So the first thing we do is we power wash the whole sign. They grind out all the rusted areas with a grinder, and then they prime those rusted areas, and then they paint the sign with sprayers.
It takes manpower, a good chunk of time, and a truckload of paint to make the Hollywood sign shine brightly.
So we're using about 400 gallons of primer and paint provided by Sherwin-Williams Paint Company. We have our guys here from Duggan Painting Company, and there's about 10 guys from Duggan Paint Company, and it's going to take about a month to paint the sign, and we should be done in a few days.
For those 10 guys coming to work each day to paint the Hollywood sign, it's more than just pulling into a parking lot, walking into an office, and clocking in, as Zaranum explains.
So our workers are behind me. They had to come in through a restricted area, so we have to always make sure that they're escorted up and down the hill. They come to the top of Mount Lee, and then they're repelled through, because the slope is about 45 degrees, they have to use ropes to bring down all their equipment in pieces, and then they have to reassemble everything down here at the base of the sign.
This reporter will do anything for the best angle on a story, and rappelling down that hill was really a wild ride. But that was easy compared to climbing back up the mountain slope behind the sign. Zarinum says when the job is complete, there will be a noticeable difference in the sign's appearance.
It'll look brighter. It'll be more reflective because of the paint that we just put on. You will see it from a distance. The Hollywood sign was designed to be seen from a distance.
Over the years, the sign has been vandalized a number of times. Now, extensive measures have been put in place to keep the sign safe from anyone trying to damage Hollywood's favorite calling card.
So the Hollywood Sign Trust provides all the security surrounding the sign. We put up security fences, we have security cameras, we have thermal cameras, we have motion sensors, we have infrared cameras, thermal cameras for at night, we have speakers to shoo the vandals away, and that's how we take care of the sign. It's patrolled 24/7 by the LAPD.
For those interested in seeing the restoration, Zarinum says their work can be watched online.
You can watch the painting of the sign from our webcam at www.hollywoodsign.org 24/7.
Arguably this town's biggest star, the Hollywood sign will soon celebrate her 100th birthday. She's already outlived most of her co-stars, and with proper care and maintenance, she should last another 100 years. Bill Thomas, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Now let's check in with NTD's Thomas Christian for today's Sports Roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup. Trey Turner hit a first-inning home run, Julio Urias went 5 innings, and host Los Angeles beat San Diego in Game 1 of the National League Division Series. Will Smith and Gavin Lux each had RBI doubles as the Dodgers followed a 111-win regular season by grabbing a 1-0 lead in the best-of-5 NLDS. Urias gave up 3 runs on 4 hits with no walks and 6 strikeouts. 4 relievers combined for 4 scoreless innings as Los Angeles improved to 4-0 in 2 all-time playoff series against the Padres. Will Myers homered in a 3-run 5th inning for the Padres, who are facing a deficit in the NLDS now after not trailing while winning their NL Wildcard Series against the New York Mets over the weekend. Starter Mike Clevinger lasted just 2 2/3 innings, giving up 5 runs, 4 earned on 6 hits with 2 walks and 3 strikeouts. They play Game 2 tonight before heading to Petco Park in San Diego to play Game 3 on Friday. Dodgers 5, Padres 3. Draymond Green delivered a public apology Saturday for punching teammate Jordan Poole in practice this week and said that rebuilding trust with his Golden State Warriors teammates will be key in moving forward. On Friday, TMZ distributed video of Wednesday's incident that showed Green standing on the wing during a stoppage in play while Poole is on the baseline. Green walks over to Poole and bumps him with his chest before Poole shoves back at Green. At that point, Green takes a vicious swing with his right hand before both players go to the ground behind the basket while staff members move to break the two up. Green expressed his sorrow for the incident in an original apology to the team Thursday, and then departed the facility as the defending NBA champion Warriors practiced without him. Green intends to remain away from the team for at least a few more days. And that's all for sports.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Ling Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.